Well, hello class. Welcome to Unit 3. So I am still under the weather. I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm going to try and be as quick as I can and yet as informative as I can. So first of all, let me just say a great job so far. I'm just really enjoying seeing your work and hearing from you and seeing you engage in discussion. I know that it takes a while to kind of get used to this class, and this is such a fast time. We're here in 8 weeks, but what I'm seeing so far, I'm really pleased with. So continue to keep up the good work. Continue those conversations and work on the case studies. So, so clearly we had a lot to do last week. So we read chapters 2 and 3. So the well-being text was read the first week, and then the second week we read the career diamond, Holland's person environment fit, look at work adjustment theory, started the discussion on treatment plans and career counseling, and then we conceptualized matching theories. So forum discussions, you started your vocation and calling reading. You had Unit 2 forum, you had case studies 1 and 2, and then LipTac 321 response. So lots going on last week. This week, much the same. We have SUPER's career development theory, which is a great theory to check out. The social cognitive theory, circumscription and compromise, conceptualizing developmental and cognitive theories, and then of course we have the case studies, the LipTac 321, and the forum discussion. So, a lot happening. I really appreciate the questions that we look at this week. So, when you get into the forums, you will notice that I'm asking some questions about whether or not you agree with this content. One of the beautiful things about a class, well, I would just say education in general, is that it allows us an opportunity to wrestle with things that we may not necessarily agree with. We may hear them and go, that's great, I agree with it. We may hear them and go, I don't know, and something doesn't sit right with whatever it is that we're listening to, whatever we're hearing. And so what education does, and I think hopefully a good environment, is it really allows for us to wrestle with, somebody said this the other day, and I can't get on board with that. So what is it? What is it that you can't get on board with, or what is it that makes you agree with that? So, this week we look at interesting concepts such as the emancipatory communitarian approach. And this question that career professionals with a knowledge of career psychology, like you are obtaining, so you may not be a full-time, obviously, career professional, but it's been said that we have an obligation to be active in informing public policy affecting the distribution of work opportunities as an issue of social justice. So why or why not do you agree with this? Do you support this? And I will say that usually these kind of ideas, this unit especially, is one where folks kind of have some, not heated, but some disagreement. I'm not sure what to think about that. I don't know that my role is really supposed to be to work towards, issues of social justice. Maybe it is, and maybe some would say it's not. So what do you think? And why do you think that way? So I think these are some important questions to ask. I think there's a lot, obviously I think in many disciplines these days, there's much more than just the discipline at hand that we're doing. So what does that look like? And maybe you don't necessarily agree with the theories that we're looking at this week, but maybe there's aspects of them where you go, well, I don't agree with everything, but I do think that I have a responsibility to, whatever the case may be. So I'm pursuing a secondary credential through the National Career Development Association, and I just finished some case studies. So I'm doing case studies just along the way as you are. And so one of the questions that was asked was, so they gave us an example of, there was a 17-year-old single mother, so she has a six-month-old child, and she has come to me and she is looking for my advice on obtaining work that would allow her to care for her child still, but also to support the family, her and her daughter, I guess daughter, I'm going to assume daughter, maybe son, but her child, let's just say that. So she's a individual of mixed race, single mother, young, and she's looking for work. And so the question wasn't necessarily how are you going to help her? The question was, what cultural adaptations do you personally need to make? And so you can look me right now and see me in this video. So I am not female, I am not 17, I'm not mixed race, I am not a single parent. So there's a lot of things that I am not. There's things that I am. And so how do I make sure that one of the questions that we look at is how do I kind of rid myself, if you will, of these biases that I bring into the conversation, these implicit biases, and make sure that I really see my client for who they are and what it is that they need, and how do I think creatively, but also how do I ask the right questions. And how do I serve them? I mean, ultimately, how do I serve? Maybe she would fit into the widows and the orphans. We don't know the situation, so but I know that she is perhaps the least of these. Someone who is financially strapped, who has someone that she's caring for. There's lots of dynamics, and so if we're going to be here, APU saying that we are a God first institution, we are to pursue justice and to walk humbly and to love our neighbor as ourselves. And to serve the Lord and all of these different things. And I think it's this interesting conversation that we have when we look at how do we serve the least of these, how do we serve our clients, how do we serve those in the public, especially as we look at things from maybe an activism standpoint, maybe a protest standpoint, maybe a social justice standpoint, maybe just this is just what I do. I help people because that's what I'm called to do. So there's lots of things to consider as we have this conversation. I'd love to hear from you on that. We will also spend some time looking at Gottfredson, so circumscription and compromise. You can read those, especially page 81 in your text. And then there's some videos that, of course, if you want to watch, you can, where we're talking about Crumboltz and this idea that luck is no accident. Okay, so there's lots of good content these next couple of days in reading. You'll be in LipTac, and of course, you have some more case studies to consider this week. So there's a couple things that I want to highlight. You should have received an email from me last night, actually 2 of them, sorry about that. The first one had a couple of links to accessing PowerPoint slides for the Anderson and Van de Heet text. So that's a very helpful kind of overview of the content that I've provided for you. So the reading, goes just in line with the actual book itself. And so years ago when I first developed this class, there was no PowerPoint presentation that came with a text, so I went through and I highlighted everything. So basically the content that I think you would need to know, I have put into this presentation. Okay, and then there's the other presentation that I share with you, the Swanson and Fuhad text that you didn't need to buy, but it is helpful to have, and it's just another kind of iteration of the content from a different perspective that I think is very helpful. And then I meant to attach for you a discussion guide, a leader's guide to go along with the LibTac text. I didn't attach to the first email, but I did to the second email, which may have come to your email, maybe not. If it didn't, just access it through the messages section in Sakai. Which, one more thing I want to mention, if you do send me a message in Sakai, please make sure that you check that little box that says also send to person's email, because then I'll get it in my email where I spend much more time compared to the time I spend here in Sakai. Okay, and then lastly, I would say you will see in the forum section, there is a portion toward the top that says vocation and calling book choice, and I've included a number of questions in there that I would love to have you answer. So what book did you choose? Why did you choose the book you did? Why did you choose this book over the other options? And are you not sure what book you want to read yet and have questions about what book it is, perhaps for your classmates or for myself? And then is there anything else that you would like to ask or comment on regarding this specific assignment? So remember that it is due here. Let me pull up the exact time for you. You're looking at it being due, on the end of Unit 6, which is June 18th. So we've got plenty of time still. I did want us to get started early, though, so you didn't get caught off and not have time to finish the actual assignment itself. Okay? So there's lots to do this week. There's reading, there's discussions, there's case studies, and so forth. I will hopefully be fully recovered in the next couple of days, and in which case I will come back on, do another video, and spend some time answering some of your questions that you asked last week in the LibTac 321. So I hope you're having a great week. I hope Monday's off to a good start. I will be actually camping toward the end of the week, so I may not be able to respond as quickly, but if there are questions, I can get back to you as soon as I can. I will have access to at least email, okay? So, and then we'll make sure that we're getting back into the swing of things with my, hopefully, health and your kind of getting the whole class figured out. Hope you're enjoying the learning. I know that it's a lot, but it's going to be great information for you to keep in mind. And the thing that I was going to mention earlier is these are things that, while you may not agree with them, they're really important that you know about. And that's the thing I tell every class. Just because you don't necessarily like whatever content it is you're talking about, and there may be some things, I'm sure there's lots of things in this program so far that you don't like. that doesn't mean that it's not important. So I want you to kind of disconnect my affection toward something and my the importance of actually knowing about it. Because here's what I think happens. So you say, I really like this 2 or 3 theories or techniques. These are my go-tos. Great. And then you come to that client who's very difficult, and you say, the ones that I usually go to aren't working, or I don't think they would actually serve them. But you remember the theory that we looked at in Unit 3 of this class. And that's the thing that gives you a breakthrough when working with a client. So while you may not like everything, I think it's really important that you know about the content, because it potentially will come back to be very helpful in the future. All right, so have a great week. I'm looking forward to continuing to read your content. Again, of course, if you have any questions, let me know how I can support you or what questions I can answer. Have a great week again, and I will see you online.